In this video, we'll understand about quantum state vectors, Hilbert space, what are bases, inner products, and normalization of a ket. We'll start with quantum state vectors. So we had already seen postulate 1 in video 2 where we said that any quantum state can be represented mathematically by a normalized ket, and this ket contains all the information that you can ask about the state. These are abstract identities which are very much like ordinary spatial vectors. What are ordinary spatial vectors is just the vectors that we know from vector algebra. When we use them to represent quantum states, we call them as quantum state vectors. So these kets are nothing but our quantum state vectors. Like we understand that vectors live in vector spaces, we say that these kets live in Hilbert space. What is a Hilbert space? Hilbert space is a complex vector space. For those who don't know what a vector space is, in easy terms, like we said, where vectors live, or in more sensible terms, we can say that it's a set on which two operations, vector addition and scalar multiplication, these are defined. So when we are considering a real space, that is a general vector space, but this vector space can also include complex numbers. And this is precisely what we need for our purpose here to represent quantum states. Hence, these kets live in Hilbert space. The dimensionality of the space depends on the problem being dealt. So we'll understand more of this later. But for example, like we saw spin half case in Stern-Gullag experiments. So we had only two possible outputs. Either it's up along any particular axis if we take z, so it's up along z or down along z. So we have two outcomes for any particular measurement. So we have only two-dimensional vector space, where a Hilbert space is two-dimensional in for spin half systems. Okay. For other branches of physics, we use complex numbers for a mathematical convenience. But in quantum mechanics, complex numbers come as a fundamental necessity. And hence, we'll use complex numbers in order to properly describe quantum mechanical systems. Okay, so now we'll understand what bases are. Okay. For any vector space, we understand bases are nothing but this is a set of elements that span the entire space. That is, you can represent every element of that space as a linear combination of these basis elements, and all these elements should be linearly independent. This we learn in a basic linear algebra course. So there are two requirements for basis for any particular vector space that we talk about. It should generate the entire space and the element should be linearly independent. Okay, in Cartesian system, we have I cap, j cap and k cap as the basis. This we know very clearly. The properties of these spaces are like it's normalized, it's orthogonal and it's complete. What is normalization means that its magnitude is 1. We know I dot I, j dot j, k dot k is 1, which dot here is dot product, like we know. Orthogonal means that their inner product should be 0. This also we know. And what does complete mean? That all other elements in this Cartesian space, this can be written as linear combination of I cap, j cap and k cap. So any vector A can be represented as some component along I, some component along j, some component along k, like this. Yeah. So now we'll use this analogy to express our quantum mechanical system. For the SC measurement, there are only two possible results that we got along plus C or minus C. So these two states comprise a complete set of basis vectors. So when you're talking about SZ measurement, so we say that a Hilbert space is two-dimensional. We have only two possible outcomes here, and these two, okay, form a complete set of our basis vectors. So any random state, any generic state psi can be written as linear combination of these two states. So this forms our basis, okay, and this basis we call them as SZ basis, right? Now, yeah, that's the same thing. Spin half case, we can use plus minus z as the basis. The completeness of the basis, this implies that a general quantum state can be written as a linear combination of these two basis sets. This is what I meant when I said that any state can be written as linear combination. Linear combination is that you multiply this by a scalar and then you sum it up. That's a linear combination, right? So any generic state can be represented as A if your basis is plus minus z. So you write your first basis which is plus z, the second basis which is a minus z. And here A and B are complex scalars because we are no more in real spaces. We are talking about Hilbert space, which is a complex vector space. So here A and B are complex scalars. A and B determine the probability amplitude for the state psi to be in one of these eigenstates. We call these eigenstates. We'll see more of that later, but for now I just use the term these are eigenstates, these spaces. So this scalar A will tell you what is the probability for psi to be found in plus z state. That is, if you're doing an SZ measurement, A is the probability amplitude that this psi will be found to be pointing up along the z-axis. Okay, and the scalar B gives us the probability amplitude that the state psi will be found in minus z state. That is, this state psi will be found to be pointing down along z when you perform an SZ measurement. Right. This scalar A can appear before this ket or after this ket. Means you can write A here or you can write A after this. Similarly, you can write B here, B after this. This makes no difference to the meaning that we're trying to imply. And this just is stated as a property which will come handy later on. Okay, so like we understand that for any complex number, we have something called as complex conjugate. Similarly, if your ket is a state vector which is living in Hilbert space, we have its complex conjugate, which we call it as bra. So corresponding to every ket psi, there exists a bra. So you note the difference in notation. There we use a vertical bar and this greater than arrow, and we represent their state here. For bra, we do it the opposite way. We have a less than arrow, this, then a vertical bar. So you need to keep this in mind. The symbol that you use will mean two different things. So this is a ket and this is a corresponding bra. Okay. So if you write your psi as a linear combination of these two bases, A and B, so if when you try to write the bra of this ket written like this A and B gets conjugated. Means here scalar A is a complex scalar, B is a complex scalar. Here these bases also get converted to their bra form. So this is a bra plus Z state and this is minus Z, right? And this A and B are no more just A and B, we take its conjugate. Okay, these are complex numbers, we take their conjugate. Okay, so like in a normal vector space, we have something called as dot product, which we know really well. We have similar thing here, which we call it as inner product. So inner product is defined as you take your bra and then you multiply it with a ket. This gives you a number. So that this is the notation. This is your bra. Actually, there should be two vertical bars, but when we write them side by side, we omit one bar. So this is just bra ket, which is easy to remember. Yeah. So this is our inner product defined for our purpose. One important property to note is that if you're changing the order of the states in which you take the inner product, this gets conjugate. Okay, so if you're writing inner product psi and phi, and if you want to change the order, you want to write psi first and phi first and then psi, then you have to take the complex conjugate of the number, because inner product will give you a complex number, and here that you'll take the conjugate of that number, right? The scalar product in quantum mechanics is generally referred to as inner product or a projection. So inner product is okay, the other term we are using, but why do we call it a projection? So when I say that inner product phi with psi with phi, what I mean is the probability for this state phi to be found in this state psi. That is the projection of phi to be found in this state psi, like we did here. Like in the previous case we saw that I told you A represents the probability for psi to be found in plus Z state. Okay, so that can also be written as an inner product, right? So here in general, any inner product is actually a projection of this ket to be found in this state. So later on when you encounter inner products, this is the physical picture that we will have in mind, is we are projecting the state in these states. Okay. Next, we understood that for any basis in a vector space, we have three conditions: normalization, orthogonality, and completeness. Similarly, here these are listed the properties that we expect for basis in our Hilbert space. So here it's not plus c because it can be plus x and plus y. So in general, it is plus plus. Okay, so if you take SZ as the basis, it will be plus z plus z. If you have SY basis, it will be plus y plus y. Okay, you understand, right? So here, if you're taking the same states, the inner product should be 1, which is nothing but your I dot I is 1, J dot J is 1, K dot K is 1. That's a normalization. What does orthogonality mean is I dot j is 0, j dot k is 0, and k dot I is 0. Similarly, if you're taking plus z in a product with minus z, you get 0. The other way around. Okay. Now, what does completeness mean? That any generic state can be written as linear combination of these basis states. Okay. Now, if we apply this definition of normalization to this get psi, what do we get is you had psi written as this. Okay, you take its bra. Bra will be what? A star and B star here, and these will get converted to their bra forms. So we take the bra form of this A star bra plus B star bra minus, and then you write as it is what's your psi, and then you multiply them, and this product should be equal to 1, because that is what we demand for normalization. Normalization means that when you take the inner product, the inner product should come out to be as 1. Okay, so you do nothing but you just do the product A star A plus plus, A star B plus minus, B star A minus plus, and B star B minus minus. By these three conditions, we see that this inner product should be 1, this inner product should be 0, similarly this inner product should be 0, and this inner product should be 1. So what we get is A star A plus B star B should be 1. A star A is nothing but norm of A square, and B star B is norm of B square, like we do in complex algebra. And so the condition we get is if you are representing any state psi, this A and this B, they should follow this relation, which in physical terms mean it's pretty intuitive, right? This if this represents the probability for psi to be found in this state, this represents the probability psi to be found in this state. The sum of two probabilities should be 1. If this is probability amplitude, probability amplitude. So when you want to find the probability, you have to square it. So this is probability. So this is probability to be found in the first basis, probability to be found in the second basis state. The sum of them should be 1. That is a probability conservation concept, right? So you have to conserve the probability. Okay, so now we'll take an example where we have to normalize a vector psi. Here, this is C is your normalization constant, and it is given to be in some state 1 plus and 2i minus. Here, you're using the basis, plus and minus are the basis. Okay, and then you're given the corresponding values, some value here. It can be any state, right? So we are taking some state which is given to be of this form, and there is a constant C sitting here. So now we need to normalize this. So normalization condition means that we have to set the inner product of the vector with itself equal to unity. So this is what we have to set. Okay. So now we write bra of psi, which will be C star. C is all again complex here. And then you write A1, you take this, you take the bra of this. And since here I is here, the conjugate of I will be minus I. So you get a minus I here. Here 1 was real, so there's no change. But here we have an I, so it gets minus I. This gets converted to its bra form. And then you multiply it with just psi. So psi remains as it is. Okay. Then you do the product. Then you get C can move through this kets and bras. This scalars can move. So C star C 1 plus you get this form, right? We know that plus and plus will give us 1, plus and minus will give us 0, minus and plus will give us 0, and minus will give us 1. So what do we get on solving this is 5 mod of C square. Okay, so now what does this give us? Mod of C is equal to 1 upon root 5. Now here it was actually norm of C square that we got as 1 by 5. So we could have got plus minus here, and we could even get it as complex since C is complex. But we always have the option, if we are given just one constant, the easiest option that we have is to keep it real and positive. So we kept it as real, no I, no iota here, and we don't really need to do it, use the negative sign here, because positive is doing a job. So when we have the option, we'll always go with real and positive. That's a convention. So we take norm of C to be 1 by root 5. That's a normalization constant. So a normalized quantum state vector then is 1 by root 5 of this given state, right? Okay, so this video ends here. See you in the next one.